Before it was Miami, it was them.
Board members had pledged to raise $30 million. And I said, wait. And eventually raised the $30 million that people thought was impossible.
I'm Mark Burns, and today we're going inside the Grove with Rosario Kennedy. Rosario is the president of Rosario Kennedy and Associates, and made history as the first Hispanic woman elected to the Miami City Commission, where she later served as vice mayor. She's also been a longtime force behind some of Miami's most impactful civic and community initiatives. We also have a special treat with guest host Monty Trainer joining us for Monty's Minute. So don't miss it. All that and more on Inside the Grove. Well, wonderful. We're here inside the Grove with the wonderful, lovely, and talented Rosario Kennedy, a trailblazer for the city of Miami. She was the first Hispanic female ever voted to office here as a city commissioner. I want to kind of delve into that, right, and your ties to the Grove while you're here. But first, welcome to the show. So happy
thank
to
you,
have
Mark.
you.
I'm delighted to be here, and congratulations on this podcast.
Thank you. Like we're getting into it. We're really enjoying it and getting to learn some of the special things about the Grove, and I really do feel you're something special about Coconut Grove, and we want to hear your story and a little bit more about you. So tell us, what was it like? What made you decide to run for office and a position that had never been held by a woman of your nationality? And tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, first of all, I come from a very long line of public servants. My grandfather was president of the Senate. My father was elected senator. And the third president of Cuba, General Mario Garcia Menocal, was my cousin. I have, from my father's side, all kinds. I have 3 mayors of Havana. I have congressmen on my mother's side as well, judges, congressmen, the first martyr, Cuban martyr. I mean, it's in the blood. It was inevitable that sooner or later was going to run. So when my children started getting older, bigger teenagers, and didn't want to spend so much time at home, they had other interests in France, I had time to dedicate to my community. I think...
A lot of these were men, I would assume, right? Did you have other women in your family that had political positions, or were you the first pioneer?
No, they were all men.
Look at that. That's amazing.
And my brothers, I had 2 brothers, were geared to be elected officials one day in Cuba.
That's amazing.
Yes. So then my kids start growing, and I said, well, I'm going to start getting involved. I must have chaired or been a member of every organization you have heard, and some that you haven't even heard of. So the only thing left for me was to run for office, and I did, and it was very rewarding because it was opening the door not only for me but for the other many women who didn't have a seat at the table.
And so, for how many years were you a commissioner?
Well, let me show you before we get to that.
Sure.
This is a little bit of history.
Okay.
There had only been 3 women elected to the city commission before me. Can you believe that? In almost 90 years.
Wow.
And here is Alice Wainwright was the first Anglo, followed by Rose Gordon, the first Jewish woman. Athalie Range was the first Black woman. And then as a Cuban American, I became the first Hispanic woman. So this made history.
That's
and we created a special bond. And it's only, not about opening the doors, but making sure that others follow. And to see that we have mayors, Levin Cava and Higgins, leading our county and our city. And another remarkable woman, Commissioner Christine King, chairing our city commission, is very rewarding.
No, and the impact that all these ladies made on the city, parks, streets, these names that you just mentioned. I don't know the full history, but I see their names.
Yeah, the article must have been, I don't remember the name, must have been First Fours. I remember First Four. But we created a special bond. And it's not just about opening the door, but when opening the door becomes a norm, that, Mark, is real progress.
Right. No, it's amazing. Like I said, you're a trailblazer. Now, tell me a little bit. I know you were instrumental in Bayfront Park, the Bayfront Park that we have today,
Yes.
and Days as well. There's a little bit of a tie in there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your involvement with getting the park to where it is today.
Okay, Bayfront Park was an abandoned park in the middle of our downtown, 30 acres, totally abandoned. To me, it was like a front door, a front porch. And what happens when you have a front porch? You sweep it, you fix it, you invite people in.
Right.
So that was one of my campaign promises. When I got elected, I turned to my good friend Monty and I said, Monty, how can we do this? And Monty had a great idea. He says, why don't I ask Sherman Wynn, who was state senator at the time, to invite people to a paella party at his house. You host it, I'll take my chefs, I'll take a paella pan, and you can pitch. Well, Monty showed up with 2 chefs, a paella pan that looked like a small swimming pool, and Senator Wynn had all the Congress people, all the senator and state legislators, and I made my pitch. And the people had so much fun that they asked Monty to do it the following year.
And so
it turned, it morphed into Days.
You knew Monty pretty well. You
very well.
You know he wasn't going to come with a tiny little paella.
For sure.
No, for sure.
So what do? When you have to raise money, you throw a party. And that's what Monty's good at.
And so how much did you guys end up raising?
Okay, that's a very good question. I was very happy, but I raised $75,000 in pledges only. And it was $30 million. We still have $29,925,000.
That's a little ways to go.
$1,000 to go. So again, I said, Monty, okay, this is great, but we need more money. Another great idea. He says, why don't you take my boat up and down the Potomac and you lobby the Congress? And it sounded fantastic. So I called my good dear friend and political mentor, Senator Claude Pepper. And I said, Senator, I need your help. And he says, well, why didn't you come up and visit me in D.C. and let's plan it? So I did, and he had everything organized. A month later, I was there with Monty and the boat, and we had not only Congress, but we have Tip O'Neill and the Army Corps of Engineers. And the park was finally, the funding was taking shape. Then I had to deal with the political battles, but that's for another story. That's very complicated. But recently, there was a story in the Miami Herald about Bayfront Park, a very long story, very detailed, and it had all the dates right. But they didn't have the right story because it said that one of the board members had pledged to raise $30 million. And I said, wait. There wasn't even a trust at that time. It was called the Kennedy Committee, and I had invited Maurice Ferre, who had worked for the park for many years, Tina Hills, and many other people who poured years of their life in the park. It was a very informal board. We met in people's homes with Noguchi, who would fly from New York to meet with us. And so I read the article, and I chuckled, and I said to myself, well, the official story is always neat and tiny, but it's a real story that is a little messy, but much more interesting.
Well, they didn't get to an interview with you, obviously.
No, of course not.
You would have set them straight. But it's interesting because you remember I used to be the executive director of Bayfront Park, so to hear these names, Tina Hills Pavilion, we have named after her, the fountains, the Claude Pepper Fountain.
Exactly.
So when you bring up all these names, just the history is especially the more time you spend down here in Miami, it just invokes all these amazing feelings.
There's a time.
I don't even want to get into any of my regular questions here. I just want to keep talking about the history. This is so amazing. I thank you so much for coming in and hanging with us today. So Days was built. Monty Trainer was instrumental, a dear friend of both of us, and it seems like he had a lot to do with Miami as well. So
yes,
it's wonderful. I want to get more into your connection to the Grove. So, when you were a commissioner and coming through the years, like how have you seen the Grove change, and what was it like back then in the 80s?
Well, back then it was a very quaint artsy bohemian place. It's a place where you went everywhere and you saw familiar faces, whether it be at Monty's or the Last Carrot or the post office, or even voting precincts were a lot of fun. All my friends volunteered there, so you always saw people there. Now it's a different vibe. Now we have high-end condos, we have Michelin star restaurants. And more people coming to the Grove, much more investment. So it's a total different vibe, but a good one.
Do you feel that the Grove has lost that bohemian vibe and that kind of relaxed vibe, or it's just evolved a little bit? I mean, what's your thought with all the new development coming in and things like? How do you feel about it?
I think that it's both. Evolvement evolution is part of life. It's inevitable. I mean, we evolve as human beings.
Sure.
So the Grove now is more of a destination place, but it still has that slow pace. You can still walk around at a slower pace, and it's a little bit of both.
I always liken cities to people. They're very similar. You know, they start out and they're young and they're hip and they're party scenes and they're crazy. You look at like South Beach and things like that, and then development happens. They grow up, they mature, and then people are like, I don't want all this partying in my backyard all the time at all hours of the night. And so cities evolve just like people and grow. And I feel like the Grove is now matured, and it's a great place for families, for young and old, everybody to kind of congregate together. And it's the best neighborhood in Miami.
I think so too.
I love it with all my heart, for sure. This is a little segment we like to call What's Your Take, right? Like the sense of community here in the Grove. I know that was a big part. I'm sure you had a lot of people really getting involved, just like yourself, right? The community involvement. Do you still see that the Grove has more community involvement than other areas of Miami? I
think so. You still have the Coconut Grove Arts Festival. You have the King Mango Strut. You have many other events. It still has that sense of community and involvement. Yeah, it's just more dispersed, and it perhaps is not something that you see all the time. But it has pockets of it, and it doesn't just permeate like the old Grove. But yes, it still has a community involvement, and people get together for causes.
I agree. Now I want to take things off the menu a little bit. There was, a phrase. There was a term, right? Rosario's crack attack. That's an interesting moniker.
Oh boy, yes.
But tell us a little bit about that and that battle that you fought. And we spoke briefly about it before, but tell me a little bit.
Okay,
about
that was it started because I had people call my office telling me that their kids had to walk through abandoned houses used for crack to go to school. And the calls, came in every week. And coincidentally, the mayor of Tampa there was an article in the Herald that the mayor of Tampa had a problem with an abandoned house, and the city was able to demolish it. So I called her. I wanted to find out how it was done, and we had a great conversation. I invited her to come to Miami, and I had arranged meetings with the state Attorney General Janet Reno, with our chief of police, and with the city's legal team. And after a few hours, they devised a way that if you notify the owner, give them 30 days, they don't do anything, I could go ahead and the house could be torn down. So then I called my friends in the local development business, and I said, I need a favor. Could you lend me a bulldozer and an operator? And of course,
I thought you were the operator.
I tried, but it was very difficult. No, the city wouldn't allow it. Yeah. Imagine the legal problems, the liability. Sure. So I did mount the crack house or the bulldozer to prove my point. Wow. And it was so well received. The press was covering it by that point. And I remember ABC's Ann Bishop opening her news one day, says, well, Commissioner Rosario Kennedy demolished today her 100th house. Wow. You know how many we demolished? 435.
Wow. people abandoning their properties. No,
Exactly.
it's that's what your job is as a commissioner, right? To change
Exactly.
policy to
Exactly.
see where the problems of the neighborhood are taking place and
resolve it.
right.
Yeah.
And well,
Find a
kudos to you.
solution.
And now, when we have abandoned properties in the city, there's a process and a way that you can demolish them, so it's not a blight on the neighborhood. So, my applaud to you.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. So we talked about Bayfront Park. We talked about the crack attack. All right, so let's go to the final segment of our wonderful interview. I'm so sad to see that we're nearing the end here.
Oh.
But the Grove 3, right? So cafecito or cocktails? Are you a cafecito?
Cocktails.
Cocktails. All right. I love it. So
Head on.
beautiful, myself included. I mean, I'm a little bit of both. I do love my cafecito in the morning for sure. But where's a place in the Grove that you really like to have a good cocktail then?
Well, here is the time where I could promote a lot of good places in the Grove, but sadly, I have to say that the best tapas bar is at my home because
I love it. Hey, listen.
my husband, and this is what we do, my husband and I get home from work, go into the kitchen, we uncork a bottle of wine, tell each other about the day, make plans for what we're going to cook, or he's going to cook. He's a great cook. And it's a great time. And during campaign season, we invite the candidates we support, and they have a blast because it's a break from the campaign, and it's always fun.
For all you future politicians out there, this is a true politician. You see, doesn't single anybody out as the best.
That's right.
She takes it right to the house. Take notes. Make sure you're taking notes. And that leads us to our last question, right? Describe the Grove in one word.
There are many words, but if I had to pick one word, I would say vibrant. Because you drive or walk, and there's always people on the streets. There's always people in restaurants, at the parks, at the waterfront, and that's the essence of the Grove.
Beautiful word. Well spoken. Well, Rosario, thank you so much for
My
joining
pleasure.
us.
Thanks
for
the invite.
To speak to you and to tell the people a little bit more about you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Rosario, you've got 1 minute with me today, so make it good. We've had a lot of minutes together, so
We sure have.
make good use of it.
I will, because you've been a part of my life ever since the day I met you. In all the important events, good, bad, indifferent, you have always been a constant.
Well, we've got a lot of history together. There's no question about that. Starting now with Bayfront Park, where I think that you and I had the biggest responsibility of making Bayfront Park happen.
Absolutely. Everybody had tried before until we came into the picture.
We took my boat up to Maine, and left it in Washington, and we politicked a lot of legislators, and we left it there for 2 weeks.
Yes, indeed.
And had the captain take it up and down the Potomac and show everybody all the things that go on in Washington.
And who better knows how to wine and dine elected officials than you, my friend?
Well, we finally ended up getting $5 million from the legislature. Right. They brought it down, and that's how we bought the park, Bayfront
exactly.
Park.
And eventually raised the $30 million that people thought was impossible. So we did it, Monty.
That's a new handshake.